as our anchor partners, the Green Bay Packers and Microsoft, come together once again to help us launch our latest initiative. A special thank you to Mark Murphy for joining us today, and for Brad Smith for joining us via Teams digitally. As many of you know, bringing the NFL draft to Green Bay has been a really community-wide effort. And I think we're all so excited to share our city on a national stage later in April. Since launching TitletownTech in 2019, we've prided ourselves, much like the Packers and Microsoft, on really being rooted in our community. We seek founders who are solving really meaningful problems in the industries that have built what's made the state's economy so special. Areas like manufacturing, construction technology, or building things, supply chain technology and moving things, agriculture, digital health, $100 million under management, more than 30 investments, many of which now call Green Bay home, and dozens of corporate partners and investors. We've really built a strong foundation that we're very proud of. And now the draft coming to Green Bay gives us an opportunity to share everything our region has to offer. Things that you'll expect, like football and cheeseheads, some things that you won't, like creative startups, emerging technologies, and collaborative partnerships. Well, future football stars from around the country will look to Green Bay to hear Commissioner Goodell call their name. Another set of future stars, startup founders, will also have the opportunity to hear their name called from right where we stand in the shadow of Lambeau Field here at TitletownTech. Following the same path as college football players, they'll be coming to Green Bay for a combine where we'll have an opportunity to spend time with them as a team. We'll have an opportunity to connect them into the marketplace, and we'll have an opportunity to really evaluate them, much like the NFL is evaluating current players. So today we're proud to announce the first ever TitletownTech Startup Draft, where we'll be making a call to founders and companies from across the country who are doing extraordinary things to compete for a $1 million investment that they'll receive, again, here on the same day that the NFL Draft will be calling its first round player. From TitletownTech, we'll be calling the name of a startup that will be awarded in live time during a live broadcast from where we are now, a $1 million investment. Our small but exceptional community is delivering big once again. We cannot wait to start reviewing all the startups that we think will find this an extraordinary way to showcase innovation that's taking place from around the country. And it gives us a unique opportunity, really more of a responsibility, to help shape the technologies that will influence our region's future and show that exceptional commercial opportunities are going to be created and built right here. Thank you for your time. I'd like to introduce the President and CEO of the Green Bay Packers, Mark Murphy.
Thank you, Craig, and thank you all for coming out today. This is it's a great occasion, and we really appreciate you all coming out. Thank you, Craig, for the introduction, and also thanks for all you and your entire team at TitletownTech have done to bring this vision to life. It's great to be here today as I really view this as another exciting milestone for TitletownTech. Obviously, the great partnership that we have between the Packers and Microsoft and the Green Bay community at large. You know, this is exactly the kind of opportunity that we hope for when we first talked about the concept of TitletownTech. We were developing that. You know, as I think Craig said, it's well over 6 years ago. I think Brad Smith and I met 8 years ago. So it kind of was the seeds of what has really turned into something that is even better than any of us, I think, could have imagined. It's just really proud of what it has become. In terms of the draft, you know, the excitement is palpable. You can feel it across the community. Obviously, I'm close to it, but I hear from so many people in the community that they just can't believe that there's going to be the NFL draft here in Green Bay. 250,000 people. It'll be the largest event ever held in Green Bay, and to tie-in with Microsoft and the Packers and TitletownTech and the startup draft. When Craig raised the idea to me, it just was one of those, like, why didn't we think of that sooner? But Craig was on top of it. We're really, really excited about it. I think it's a chance to showcase not only the love for football, but the strengths of our community here in Green Bay and really the entire state of Wisconsin. Football really, I think for many of us, it's been much more than a game. From my own experience, the life lessons that you learn playing football about resilience, teamwork, and also the other thing that I think about football, and particularly with the Packers, is that there's a commitment to building something lasting. And that same spirit drives innovation, and that spirit is exactly what we're going to celebrate with the TitletownTech Startup Draft. And Craig mentioned this, the NFL Draft is a chance for top athletes to take the next step in their careers. This is an opportunity for founders to take the next step in building their companies. They'll come to Green Bay. It's going to be the version of a startup combine, and then obviously the NFL combine. I'm leaving Saturday, or Sunday afternoon to head down to Indianapolis for the combine. Very, very important for all of our players that want to come into the league, and obviously we hope to have a similar opportunity on a national stage for companies, founders to compete for investment and resources to scale. And the other thing I would stress is with the Packers, we really understand the power of community. We're a very unique, the only professional sports team in the United States that is community-owned, community-based, and allows us to think long-term and invest in initiatives that make a difference. Obviously, Titletown generally is one of those initiatives, and now with this startup draft, we're extending that impact to help fuel the next generation of entrepreneurs, and will shape the industries tomorrow. None of this would have been possible without our partners at Microsoft. From the beginning, they had just been tremendous. They've shared our vision for TitletownTech and have been instrumental in helping us build something that's truly special and unique. Their commitment, obviously as an organization and a company, their commitment to innovation and their expertise in technology, and they're willing to invest in ideas that have the potential to transform industries, have made them an invaluable partner, not just for us, but also obviously for a chance to work with Microsoft and so many of their great employees, but for entrepreneurs and businesses that come through the doors here. With that growing presence in Wisconsin, including their AI initiatives and data center investments, their support continues to help drive innovation in meaningful ways. I want to give special thanks to Craig, Jill Enos, who's here, Cordell Barkley, and so many different people from the TitletownTech team for leading this effort. It's an exciting time in Green Bay, and I can't wait to see the impact that this will have during the draft. Founders, you are now on the clock. I went by our clock in the atrium. It's 63 days, so it's coming up fast. With that, I'd like to turn it over now to Brad Smith. But before I turn it over to Brad, I just want to say a couple words about Brad. I can tell you, I cannot tell you how much tremendous respect that I have for Brad. You look at the great success that he's had, and yet he stays humble and true to his roots. He's Appleton's own from, I think, Appleton North High School, and he has been so great to work with, and having the backing of not only Microsoft but Brad Smith has meant so much to TitletownTech, and with this startup draft, having their support will be invaluable. And again, just so appreciative of everything that Brad has done for Green Bay, Wisconsin, the Packers, and as well as TitletownTech. And I will turn it over to Brad now, virtually. I think we're back in the pandemic.
privilege to visit Lambeau Field and had some of my colleagues from Microsoft, and it was really Mark's hospitality, showing us around, and then we sat down with Mark and Ed Policy and asked, what might we do together? And it took a couple of years to launch it and create TitletownTech. But I think, Mark, as you said, it has so exceeded our expectations. We started initially with roughly $25 million of funding, half really just about coming from $5 million from the Packers and $5 million from Microsoft that got TitletownTech going. And just to see what Craig and Jill and Cordell and others have accomplished, and to see the companies coming out of TitletownTech, it's just really inspiring. And as Craig said, now we're looking at $100 million, approaching 100 companies. It's quite a remarkable thing, and it's creating businesses and jobs and adding to the richness of the community. For us at Microsoft, our investment has always been about more than money, although the money has obviously been important. We've been the technology sponsor. We have a technologist in residence who, by coincidence, or maybe not, also grew up in Wisconsin, Matt Adamczyk, who grew up in Racine. There to work with these startups every day. We pull in people from the corporate headquarters near Seattle, where I am today, and just get the opportunity to work closely and help. We're bringing that same approach to this initiative, using our technology expertise and people to help evaluate the applications, but I think perhaps more than anything, to really lean in and give support to the winner, so that the winner is not only getting an infusion of cash, but technical assistance, and what is so important in the world of technology these days, access to compute, to access to AI, to cloud services. So we'll be providing $350,000 of credits to access our resources to the winner here as well. And then I would just say two things in closing. One is, it is remarkable to me to see what the last 8 years have brought since that visit in 2017. To see TitletownTech, not just come into existence, but grow in the ways it has. To see the relationship between Microsoft and the Packers in the community. To see this, now multi-billion-dollar investment that we made in Mount Pleasant. To see the partnership we have at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee with an AI manufacturing center that also involves the Packers and Microsoft in addition to the university. To see a whole lot of other things across the state, computer science in high schools, broadband in rural communities. As somebody who grew up in the state and went to high school in Appleton, I just find it really gratifying, as you might imagine, because it just shows how much talent there is in Wisconsin, how many good people there are in Wisconsin. That's something I always benefited from growing up and still do. I'll argue that there's very few places in the country or the world where you can find so many good people who will roll up their sleeves and help their neighbors seize an opportunity or solve a problem. I also bet, by and large, those of us who grew up in the state, we're pretty bright, but I may have second thoughts, because I do agree with Mark. I don't know what took us so long to come up with this idea. I'm glad the draft's going to be in Green Bay for lots of reasons. And I'll add to that list, well, maybe it was the missing dose of inspiration that we needed to sort of fixate on something that, when you think about it, is pretty obvious. I suspect this is going to be something that lots of other people are going to learn from. We'll probably see it copied or emulated, but it's another first, for TitletownTech, for the Packers, for Microsoft, and for Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's a great day. I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Mark, for those remarkable comments. It's really interesting to stop and just pause and think about what we heard. If you're a startup, money is one thing, and $1 million is real money. But when you look at the power of partnership, what happens when organizations come together, when you can connect capital with the kind of technical support, with the type of resources, with the connections in the marketplace, the ingredients that really can make a difference between a company who starts and a company who thrives, and a company who starts in the marketplace and one who really connects deeply with the marketplace. So I cannot think of a better place or a better time if you're a startup to jump in and be part of what I think is going to be an extraordinary event. But I also want to pause for a moment because as Mark said and as Brad reinforced, the relationship that Brad and Mark has created has been so unique, so catalytic to our whole region, not only with what the Packers do in their organization day to day and what Microsoft does in theirs, but really building on that and creating new opportunities for so many people, whether it's with TitletownTech or TechSpark or the initiatives that the Packers have with their foundation. The additive effect here has been really extraordinary, and I can speak for the TitletownTech team and just say we're so grateful for the work that you're doing. Now, I also want to present Mark with something, and Brad, we'll have this on the way to you, but of course, to commemorate a first in Green Bay, you have to have a jersey. It's part of the bylaws. So Mark, I'd like to present to you the first Startup Draft 25 jersey. Hopefully you'll see more of these around in town with some of our founders and with Brad. But again, Mark, thank you for starting this off. And so appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
And
Keyshawn Nixon will allow us to have that.
maybe he'll sign a few for us. And then I just want to say a personal word about Mark also, because it's really been, extraordinary for me having an opportunity with work with Mark over these years. The impact that Mark as a person, just a leader and as a person, has made on this community is something that we'll be talking about for generations. And to be able to capstone this, not only with the TitletownTech Startup Draft, but to be able to capstone this with the NFL Draft in Green Bay, as Mark said, bringing the largest event Green Bay's ever had here. And we know that it's happened because of the leadership of Mark Murphy. So it's really proud to have you as part of this. So it's clear we're proud to call the Green Bay Packers and Microsoft as partners. Would like to thank everyone for being here. By the way, applications are now open. So if you want, you can go to our website at www.TitletownTech.com. and you can begin applying today. The applications will stay open until March 16th at 11:59 p.m. And as Mark so eloquently said, startups, you're on the clock.
Hi everyone, we're going to head into a 15-minute Q&A session here. We have folks who are on virtually, so those folks who are virtually, if you have questions, we ask you to raise your hand, and then we'll have you come off of mute and turn on your camera so that we can call on you. I'll be relying on the LiveX folks and kind of doing some back and forth between the podium and here to make sure that we get your questions answered. But Nick will be walking around with a microphone for those who are in person so that we can ensure that Brad and everybody who is online can hear your questions as well. So with that, we can open up to Q&A, and I can start with Jeff from Press Gazette here.
Give me a second, I don't have a question. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Nathan.
For any one of you, probably Craig, how many businesses are you anticipating applying for this? And is there a relocation element to this too, or do the businesses stay in their home market and just continue to do the work?
Yes, so when it comes to the number of startups, we're really expecting thousands. So, I think if we set a target, 5,000 companies jumping into this would not be exceptional. And as far as requirements, we never require companies to relocate as part of working with TitletownTech. Now, interestingly enough, we've had 7 companies that have relocated and moved here, not because we require it, but because they see the power of this network. And so it's certainly our hope that in this process we'll find some more companies that want to come to Green Bay. But if they want to stay where they are, what we always say is we want you to be where you're going to have the greatest chance of success.
Building off that question,
like with them being from around the country, what sort of impact do you hope it has on the Northeast Wisconsin community?
I think one of the things that's been really interesting when we've worked with startups, regardless of where they've been physically located, is their connections into this ecosystem has really been additive to the ecosystem in total. So sometimes it's providing new technologies or new capabilities for companies here to help them compete. Sometimes it's been because of talent that's connected in ways that wouldn't have connected before. And sometimes it's the exchange of knowledge. Because one of the things we wanted to do at TitletownTech is not just invest in great companies, but really think of the competitiveness of our region. And as the region becomes more digitally and fast evolving in this marketplace, they're going to be more successful. So we always like it when companies come here, but I think we've seen the additive effects of being part of this ecosystem, not just on our investors and the startups that are here, but on the companies that live here day to day and compete from right here in Northeast Wisconsin.
Maria Parmigiani from WBAY. You can't see me back here because I'm short. Sorry. So it's just an ominous voice. Just trying to read through what Grace sent us that email. It looks like they're the finalists are going to be pitching their ideas, right? And so how does that work? How are you going to go from the thousands that you're anticipating? Narrow it down. How many are going to be there? And then from there, when do you pick them? On the 24th?
Well, the thing that's really interesting is we've really built the organization to look at startup companies, and we review a large amount of companies every single day. So it's kind of what we do. And we're always going to look at a couple of things. What kind of problems are the companies solving? Is it meaningful? Is it something that we think if they're successful, it will be good for the world and look good next to the Packer and Microsoft brand? Is it going to generate returns? And also you always look at the founders themselves, because at the end of the day, you know, these companies come from great founders. Now, I think we're going to have some things that get added to the evaluation. Talking to Mark earlier and thinking about doing a combine, it may be the first time ever that we try to ask a founding team on the same day, can you show us how well you code and can you run a 40-yard dash? And so, you know, we'll see. It'll be an unusual evaluation process, but I think really an exciting one. Now, as far as the kind of where it goes down to, we're not sure how many companies we're going to invite to the combine yet. That'll be part of the fun. We'll invite as many as we think we can both handle here, and that will be providing really exceptional opportunities to collaborate with our marketplace and give us a chance to take a look at. And so part of the fun of this is once you start looking at talent, that will help tell us exactly where we go for the rest of it, knowing that will culminate with the $1 million award on draft day and with the technical resources and the technical funding that Brad has talked that Microsoft's going to provide as well. And so we know the beginning and we know the end, and we're going to have a lot of fun in the middle.
I think Jeff had a question.
Craig, what about some of the investors and organizations that have kind of followed the lead of Microsoft and the Packers investing in TitletownTech? Role do you see them playing in this sort of event?
Yeah, I think part of the magic of TitletownTech has been not only the anchor partners with the Packers and Microsoft, but the fact that we do have 25 other companies primarily from around this region who have invested in TitletownTech and joined in providing capital, but more importantly have become really active members of the network. And so you'll see them working with our portfolio companies on a regular basis. They give market feedback. They help us understand problems that exist in their marketplace, that if it solves, really opens up an opportunity for those companies to compete at a higher level. And so I think what we'll see is really kind of an extension, and perhaps because of the draft, an exaggeration of what happens here every single day, which is active engagement and involvement from our network partners into the startup community to create new value and new opportunities. Heather?
Heather Graves, the Business News. I know that some of the eligibility is on the website, but can you go through a little bit of that? Is there a time limit of how long the business has been able to be in operation, or are they full startups? They haven't done anything then. What does that kind of look like?
Yes, so I think keeping it very simple, we invest in early stage companies. We're largely defining that as companies who have not received more than $10 million in capital or more, because that will help us understand what stage they're in, and then recognize that I think we're going to find some companies that haven't received any capital yet, to some who have received some capital and have been in the marketplace and are trying to use it to either extend or adjust in a way that's meaningful. The only other requirement is they have to be from the U.S. or Canada. So only as a fund, only invest in companies in the U.S. and Canada. But I'd say U.S. and Canada, $10 million in capital or less. If you've got a really great idea and you want to really make a difference, we're wide open.
One of the things I just wanted to highlight was, the NFL, it's been for a number of years now, where it used to be the draft was only in New York City and Radio City Music Hall and kind of the same thing every year. Since they've been taken on the road, each city kind of wants to put their stamp on the draft. And I think this is one of the things, this will be the first time ever have a startup draft. I think it really highlights the fact that this is a great place for entrepreneurs. Green Bay in Wisconsin is a great place with some of the things that we've done through Microsoft in terms of technology. And then we will also be the first draft to have the taste of the draft, because we know Wisconsin loves food, especially cheese curds.
Just really quickly, was it difficult to get the NFL to kind of sign off on this, or were they interested in this idea of
on the startup draft? Yeah, I know Craig can speak to it better than I think they were excited about it. Again, I think they love when each community that hosts a draft makes it kind of their own and special. One of the things I know, the league is really hoping that it snows after in April, because people like to watch football games and drafts when it's snowing. So the frozen tundra, that's all you'd hear about. So as an owner of a golf course not too far from here, I'm hoping that the weather's good enough that we can open all golf courses.
I actually never thought about 18 holes being part of the combine, but we certainly can be open to that. It's been really interesting. I think, Jeff, to your point, when we've started kind of bringing this idea out and talking to potential partners, I think we saw a lot of enthusiasm for the idea from all. But I think the thing that was probably more meaningful is what you saw is that when you look at the NFL, when you look at the Packers, and when you look at Microsoft as a core, the amount of trust and respect that they have for each other, I think was really a big part in saying, hey, let's bring this thing to life. And so those foundations are built on deep relationships and trust. And then when the moments come, then that's where the opportunities are created.
Carl from NBC 26. How much do you anticipate the, Wisconsin-ness of the idea, like whether it plays into Wisconsin's strength industries being a part of the startup that is selected, or is it going to be more just who has the best idea no matter how it aligns with Wisconsin?
Well, we certainly expect and hope that the folks who focus where there is alignment. There's a reason that we invest in certain areas because of the strength of the region, and that does make it accumulatively impactful regardless of where they are. So I think that founders will largely self-select because when you look at it, in addition to the 10 million and being in the U.S. and Canada, we really do highlight industries that we want to focus on. Wisconsin and the upper Midwest has been exceptional at making things, at moving things, care. If you think about food sustainability, clean water, and what we have with the Great Lakes, there's natural advantages here that I think if you're a founder in any of those spaces, you're really going to want to lean into in a meaningful way and know that that's where we can best unlock the power of the network. So I think it's going to be really relevant. The other thing I would say is following up on Mark's comments is, with 31 other NFL cities, we certainly hope that each one of those cities would lean in and say, hey, we want to have a representative at the draft. So who's the best of the startups that we have in our regions to offer, and bring them forward and let them compete with the rest of the region and rest of the country. Now, we think we're going to do well in Wisconsin, and take that as a challenge to the other cities. Any other question? Anything online?
To reiterate what Craig said, any questions from folks online? David, I'll be looking to you.
Hey, Craig, you might want to mention the Booyah Battle. Another food-related.
Yes, there's one thing, as Mark said, that we do well. It's food. So you forgot one thing, though, Mark. Cheese curds you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Booyah you've mentioned. Old fashions we haven't talked about yet. So let's keep it really Wisconsin. Also, I just want to share, especially with Brad's participation and with the group that we have online, a special shout out to LiveX and the work that they've done as a partner of ours, not only here, but you'll see they'll be following us through the process. We'll be here with the Combine, and also we'll be helping with the live broadcast that we're going to have on April 24th when we announce the winner. So thank you to LiveX.
I suspect a lot of news directors will be interested in this. Can you talk briefly about the release of the renderings today for the draft, as far as the footprint, what things look like, kind of how refined they are, how much is going to change?
Yeah, that's something, Aaron Popke probably been the main contact. The NFL, although it's here in Green Bay, it's really the league's event. And, so we released today exactly where the stage will be and things of that nature. But again, that's, following the league's lead. And, we feel excited about it. I think it's going to be about a month where people driving around Lambeau Field will be a little different than what you're used to, but when you have that many people coming in, it'll be well worth it. It'll be tremendous, not only for the Packers and everybody, but every business here will benefit from it, and it's amazing what the draft has become. I'll bore you all with a quick story. No, Katie Hermson knows. She's heard my draft day story, just to show you how much things have changed. Well, back then it wasn't even on TV, so nobody knew. But make a long story short, George Allen, who was a Hall of Fame coach, but was known that he didn't like young players, so he traded all his draft picks. He actually once traded the same draft pick twice and got fined by the league. But basically, he hid me out for 2 days so no other team could reach me, and then signed me as soon as the draft ended because he took the chance that I wouldn't be drafted. So that's my draft day story.
By the way, all stories create ideas, and so maybe if we find a really good founder early, we'll hide them out at Lodge Kohler and get them ready for the draft. We'll call it, we pulled a Murphy.
Question again in the back. I'm sorry. I was just trying to read through and understand what this startup is going to win, because I think it's a great opportunity, for these new startups. And something that was mentioned in that email was the credits, and I was just wondering what those are. I'm not really tech savvy, so you might have to break it down for me a little bit, but it sounds like it's really breaking down those barriers for those startups to be able to really get out into the community.
And is that a question
Yeah,
for
I
Brad?
think I can answer that. I mean, yeah, it's specifically, our cloud has the name Azure. That's our cloud operating system. And we provide credits which basically enable the person who gets them, typically a company, to use our compute, to use cloud computing resources, to test their software, in our data centers. These days, to access the graphical processing units that are essential for AI. So if a startup, for example, is developing an AI solution, they're able to use that kind of computing resource. So just think of it as, instead of, for that part, providing cash, it's providing what somebody otherwise might use cash to buy, what somebody would need to use cash to buy, access to computing resources.
Sorry, I talk too much. I guess I'm in the right business. But I always just like to end it, like, what's one thing that you'd like to tell a startup out there that is maybe nervous or doesn't feel prepared in order to sign up for something like this? What would you give them, like, words of advice or encouragement?
What I would say, if I have an opportunity to answer the question, is everybody starts out the same way. Everybody starts out small. Interestingly, for a company like Microsoft that will celebrate its 50th anniversary literally on the second day of the Combine on April 4th, it's a reminder. Bill Gates just published the first volume of his memoir, so you might have seen a glimpse of him as he was on sort of a national book tour. Classic. He started out as a kid in high school with a few other kids in high school. The thing they needed more than anything was actually access to compute. They had a great idea, and they just needed some help to get started. And these days, the kinds of help that people need are access to computing, money, and often access to advice, the kinds of mentoring that TitletownTech provides every day. And you just never know where the next great idea is going to come from or how far it may take you. That's really been the magic of TitletownTech. So, frankly, the only way to lose is to fail to compete. So it's a great opportunity for people to jump in.
That is the absolute perfect set of words to end on. Thank you so much for being here today. Brad, thank you for your partnership and your thoughts. Mark, thank you so much. And now let's go have some fun.
We're going to get a quick photo with the group here.
What do you want?
Quick photo.
You've seen the movie. Yeah. Remember the $1 million.